Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started back with our program. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Susan Stem. I asked Susan to give me just a little bit of information about herself that I could share with you, and I'm sure she has more that she will be sharing with you as well. But Susan loves Jesus, and she loves showing his love to others. She was born in Ohio, and we are blessed to have her here in Johnston County, North Carolina. So, Susan, we're so glad that you are here with us. She has 2 sons. She attended World of Life Bible Institute. She is a school nurse with Johnston County Public Schools. She has been a foster mom since 2012. And she is happy to announce that she is a new grandma. She has a 7-month-old granddaughter. And for those of you that have grandchildren, you know that at the top of that's got to be one of the best jobs in the world is being a grandma. So, Susan, we are happy to have you with us today, and we look forward to hearing all that you have to share with us.
So as I get started, I'm just going to pass these flyers around, and I have some pens that just have our Reach logo on it. Please feel free to take one. Use it as a prayer reminder just to pray for us. So thank you for having me today. I am just very privileged to be here. Again, my name is Susan Stem, and I'm just going to start with a little bit of background about me, and then I'll go into how the Reach Ministry began. I'm going to have Erica help me do the PowerPoint, and then Erica is going to share a little bit. She's been one of our mentors with some of the girls this summer. We had a day camp for them, and so I'm going to let her share a little bit at the end as well. So the verse that, to me, this ministry began with is James 1:27. It says, "Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself being polluted from the world." Is there a ring? Do I need to step back? Okay. So I grew up in Ohio, as Deborah said. And I grew up in church, so I knew about the Lord all my life. But when I was a senior in high school, we had to go across this bridge to go to my high school. And it was nicknamed the Suicide Bridge because kids were jumping off of it and taking their lives. And one day I was going to school, and they had cranes there and picking up the remains of a body, a 13-year-old child. And at that point, I kind of grew up in a normal Christian home, so I couldn't imagine why anybody would want to take their life that young. Okay. So God used that to really give me a desire to minister to unloved, abused, rejected young people. During my senior year, I heard about Word of Life Bible Institute, and so they did on-the-job training counseling with kids in camps, and they also taught you the Bible. So I went there, and God really gave me a dream to have a camp for kids. And so while I was there, I met this man. We fell in love and got married, and I thought that God would fulfill this dream through that marriage and minister. During that time that I was married, we did serve with Youth for Christ and worked with kids in detention centers in Raleigh. And then we also became house parents for a maternity home for pregnant young people in Raleigh. And then I got pregnant, and we moved into our home. What I thought was the reality for my life was not what actually happened. Life has not turned out as I had envisioned. And so after 17 years of marriage, my husband left. And I had 2 sons at that time, and I was devastated. I had not been to school, so I was just devastated. And that dream of having that camp for kids it went into survival mode for me. But I do believe now that God has allowed me to travel those painful pathways to enable me to care for the young people that have come into my life. I believe it's equipped me. And it's just given me a passion. I do believe, and this is just a little bit side note, but I believe my ex-husband was bipolar and never diagnosed. And so a lot of the kids that are coming into my path, I can relate. When you tell me about scenarios, I've kind of been through it. So anyway, I raised my sons. I homeschooled them. When they went off to college, that dream kind of resurfaced in my life. Also, during that time, I went back for nursing school. And I thought, even though I'm single, I still have things to offer for these kids, and that dream resurfaced. And so I became a foster parent in 2012. During that time, while I was doing respite foster care, I watched this movie from on Netflix. It's called Camp, but I highly recommended you watching it. When I watched it, I just sobbed the whole way through that movie because it actually talked about a foster camp for foster kids. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, God, that's the dream of my life, and someone else has done it. So there's actually a documentary at the end of the movie, and it's a real camp. So I Googled it, found one in Raleigh. It has to be sponsored by a church. It's very Christian-based. And I called up the director and said, I watched this movie. I'd love to serve. I don't know how you can use me, but I'll do anything in this camp to help out. And I said, by the way, I'm a nurse. And he goes, stop right there. He says, we need a nurse for this camp. Now, this was in January when I called, but the camp wasn't until July. And he said the nurse that we've had is pregnant with twins, and she cannot do it this year. And we can't even have a camp without a nurse. So it was so neat to see God's fulfillment of why God gave me the platform of nursing that I could go into this camp and serve. I did the camp in 2015, and then I went back to DSS because I was already a foster parent, and I said, hey, do you guys know about this camp? Have you ever sent kids from Johnston County to this? They also have a mentoring program afterwards in Raleigh that I became a volunteer with. And they said, we have nothing like this in Johnston County, but we desperately need it. So I just began praying about that. At that time, I was working at the health department. And whenever there's a shelter or an ice storm or anything, we have to work shelters for Johnston County. And so First Baptist Church in Smithfield, they have the ministry center. It used to be the Smithfield Herald building, turned it into a ministry center. And so I was there and I saw that facility and I thought this would be perfect to start a mentoring program for these kids and reach out to the foster kids in Johnston County. I called the pastor, Lee Colburn. I don't know if you know him. He's retired now after 40 years and just shared my dream, my vision, and maybe the possibility of using that facility. He said, meet me tomorrow. And so all of his staff at that time met me the next day at the medical mall. We began discussing it and we began praying about what God wanted to do in Johnston County. That's where this ministry really began. So we prayed about like having an action word. We came up with reach because the mentors have to reach and the mentees have to reach. And then I really prayed, God, I'd love to have an acronym. And that's where that came from. God just put it, go ahead and, the acronym is remember encouragement changes hearts. And God just put it into my heart that that's what it needed to be. This is kind of what we did when we were first meeting, but our motto is each one needs one. Everybody needs somebody in their life to be a role model. And you can make a difference. Go ahead and flip the next one. And that's the verse I just talked about true religion. Each one needs one. So our mission statement is to bridge the gap by building relationships with foster youth. We didn't know how to do that. We're just starting, and it's like, I don't know how to do it. I just know 3 things. I know it's God's heart, I know I have a passion, and I know there's a great need out there. So we began in 2016. We had a prayer walk at Smithfield Park out there, and we just had prayer signs. I have it on here. Just to start praying for the needs of this, of these kids, of foster parents, of DSS workers. Keep going. So our goal is to create an atmosphere where lasting relationships can be formed between the Johnston County adults and young people as they mature. If you're interested in ever volunteering, we'll be having some training coming up soon. So some of the statistics, average of 100 kids in foster care in Johnston County alone. There's not enough foster homes, so they go into Falcon Children's Home, Middlesex Children's Home, Kinston. They go into group homes if they're really severe cases. There's only 47 active foster homes in Johnston County. This is a couple years ago when I made this, so it may be higher then. 8 out of 10 people in prison spend at least one night in foster care. So when these kids age out, the statistics are staggering. It also says 9 out of 10 children that come into foster care are molested. That's a staggering number. This is one of the little girls that has been adopted. I don't remember what year, but she's 12 years old now. So that's her family that adopted her. She was from Meth House. This is one of the young ladies that aged out of foster care. She stayed with me. She was a single mom. Go back to that one. Her name's Bella. I'm just going to ask you to pray for her because after she started doing kind of well, she took off and she lived in her car for probably 2 years, probably prostituted herself, gave up her baby, and she's still floundering. And you can imagine with the pandemic, as crazy as it is for us, it's even crazier for these kids. Her son's name is Austin. He's in kindergarten. Beth, you know, I'm also a school nurse right now. He's in trouble every day. She has no restraints on him and has never been taught that. So just if you think about praying for Bella and Austin, they need it. There's other foster youth that I try and pray for by name, but it's so important because usually the outcomes of these children are homelessness, surfing beds, prison, prostitution, alcoholism, drug addiction. Their outcomes are not good. And I had another young lady, her name was Bobby. Pray for her too. She aged out. She came back and stayed with me. And, but you think about it, she actually made it to college. But when you come home on break, where do you go? If you're a foster kid and you've aged out, they have no home. They have no place for Christmas. They have no place. So anyway, she stayed with me. But recently she graduated. I sent her a gift. And I sent her just a bookmark with Christian thoughts and encouragement. And she wrote me back. Satan wants her life. But I believe that she's been exposed to the gospel. But she said, please do not contact me anymore. I do not want to be a Christian. And so I'm just saying, God's able to change her life just like he did Saul on the road to Damascus. So I just prayed for her and I said, okay, I won't contact you anymore, but you're always in my prayers. And she loves the dark things right now. Satan is trying to capture our young people. And again, I'm a school nurse, so I see it all the time. I'm going to skip over a couple things. So one thing that we've done so far is we've collected hygiene bags. We found out that when kids come into care, they're given 2 trash bags. So we began doing hygiene bags with the things, stuffed animal, blanket in there, just to kind of comfort them as they come into care. Several people have made bags. First Baptist has. Cindy back there has made special bags for the kids just to let them know someone cares. We've started with that. Then we began ministering at Falcon in Middlesex. I would go do an interactive devotion with them. We'd do activities and do snacks with them. And then COVID hit. And it's like, okay, how can we minister to these kids now? Because they don't allow any visitors. These kids now have been quarantined since March 2020. They're still quarantined. They just lifted the ban for these kids to have visitors, and then they closed it back down again. So at Christmas, I'm like, what can we do for these kids? Because you're already coming in, you're being removed from your home, and then you're stuck in a group home. God gave us the idea about just doing parties in a box. So we had big tubs. I can't see one right now, but anyways, big tubs, and we just filled it with activities, footballs, basketballs, crafts, candy, all kinds of stuff. And we gave one to every cottage in Middlesex. People just sent in the donations like crazy. At Easter time, we gave them the resurrection eggs. We did it again for all the cottages at all 3 of those homes, the Kinston, Middlesex, and Falcon. And it was so successful, we did it again in July. We gave them tie-dye T-shirts, watermelons for every cottage. We're going to try and do something again in the fall and do like a pumpkin for every one of them, and just candy. And I don't even know what else to put in the bag. But so we've been doing that. The other thing is when I went to the foster camp, I realized that a lot of these kids have never, ever had their birthdays celebrated. That's hard for me. I'm just to never recognize their value and their special day. So one thing that our ministry does, we send out birthday cards to all the foster kids in DSS. We send it out to Say So organization, an organization that has aged out of foster kids, but they advocate for foster kids. We send it to all the children's homes, and we put like a $10 gift card in there, like to Sweet Frog, McDonald's, Walmart, whatever, just to say, you know what, you matter. After school this year, I had go ahead and flip the next one too. That was our prayer walk. Go ahead. And those are just some of our prayer needs that we had on the walk. You can flip through. Okay. As school was ending this year, I ran into 4 different foster girls that are in foster care in the schools. And God gave me a dream 2 nights in a row about these 4 girls. And I didn't know what he really wanted me to do with it. So I just started praying about it. And I really felt like God said, Susan, you could do a camp for these 4 girls. And I thought, I guess I could. So I began just praying about it, doing some investigation. And my sweet mother-in-law had heard some message say, start where you are, use what you can, do what you have, and leave the rest to God. So I began praying about that, just seeing what we could do for these 4 girls. One of the girls right now is 10 years old. She thinks she's a boy. And it's being reinforced in the schools that we have to call her a boy. We have to call her by that name, and we're not allowed to tell her guardians. That's heartbreaking to me. That's not acceptable. Anyway, so we began praying about these 4 girls, and God just was bringing activities and opportunities, and then he brought Erica. And Erica, I may just let you come in here in just a minute. Erica called me. Erica's at NC State. She is going to school for education right now. And she had applied for a paid internship with NC State. She could pick any foster or any nonprofit that she wanted to pick and work there. And so she applied. And so she said, Susan, if I get this, is there anything I can do for this summer? Well, I said, well, Erica, we have got a day camp that we're planning for these 4 girls right now that I feel like God's leading us to. We planned the end week of June. Then we found out they have summer school this summer. So it's like, well, God, I don't know what you're thinking. You can't do a day camp if the kids are in school. So then we found out they're off on Fridays. And so we started with 4 Fridays. And we thought we'll just see how it goes. Put these 4 girls together. And Erica was our intern. And so that's what we did this summer. I'm going to let her tell about that, the most of it. But are you going to tell what Spencer's granddad said? You are? Okay, I won't say it then. Anyway, I'm going to kind of close out here. I'm going to let her take over. But the 3 things that I really want to let you know, you know what? I'll just let you go and I'll finish that up at the end. Okay, so this is Erica.
Yes, well, hi, my name is Erica Allen. Let me just pull up my notes right up here. So, before I even start into it, I just want to say that my experience with Reach went above and beyond my grandest expectations. And I couldn't believe, I remember waking up and being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I get to do this during the summertime. This is like the best thing in my life. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And it was the glory of God alone that allowed me to have this opportunity. It was a super competitive internship. And like all my friends were applying to it. And I remember being like, oh Lord, you're the only one that's going to be able to make this happen. And he made it happen. And it was just a opportunity of a lifetime to work with such resilient youth and a life-changing organization. So I was Reach's first mentor. We've had volunteers in the past that have worked with youth, but not as heavy duty. So during my time as an intern, I was privileged to work with 4 young girls between the ages of 10 to 12. And I actually started working with our youth before my internship officially started, just so then I could have the relationship that was necessary to actually mentor them. We held our first ever summer camp, which we called our Fun Fridays. And so once a week, we would spend the day together doing like various activities, like surrounding like confidence building, which would be like us going to like a therapeutic like horseback riding sanctuary. We did community service, like baking cookies and making cards for like our local fire department and police department. And we helped our youth. We were just helping our youth build relationships with each other as well. And these are only a few examples of our time together. And along with our summer camp, I was able to begin mentoring my mentees. My focus was on building a relationship with them so that they knew that they had one stable, consistent adult in their life that absolutely loved them, but was also able to act as a bridge towards future opportunities. I found in my life, I know, because I have both my parents at home, that, there was this time where I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to work at this job anymore, Dad. I'm a cake decorator. I don't want to do this anymore. Is there another place I can do this? My dad was able to be like, yeah, I know like 10, 15 other places that, that are bakeries, and I can get you connected in there with them. Well, our foster youth don't have that connection. They don't have that stable adult in their life to be able to say, you know what, you're having this problem or you want to do this thing. Well, I know other people and I can be a bridge to you, to those future opportunities. And that's why it was essential to me that I would try to help them realize that they could have dreams and they could achieve them. Because even though they're only 10 to 12 years old, they were absolutely hopeless. They had no dreams. They thought that they were just going to work in like a little Dollar Tree for the rest of their lives. And there's nothing wrong with working at a Dollar Tree at all. But it was just like they had no aspirations in their life. So it was just so essential to me that we could start doing something with them. So I began connecting to local professionals in our community, those who are my friends and extremely talented in what they did. So one of our examples of skill building and goal dreaming is one of my mentees told me that she loved photography, but she just didn't think that she could ever do it as a career-wise. Well, lucky for her, I have a friend who is making an entire career out of photography. So I went to my friend. I was like, Elena, I need your help. Can we do something? Can you spend the day with us and show one of my mentees how you do our thing? She was like, absolutely, I want to do this. So we made a full day out of it. She showed my mentee start up to all the way from how to start the photo shoot to the end of it. She let her take the photographs. She let her direct the photo shoot. She brought in models. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And my mentee was so unbelievably grateful because it was honestly a one-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunities, especially since she's only 10. And my mentee's caretaker actually told me, he actually told us, he says, Erica, we have teams of people helping my granddaughter, teams of people, professionals, and she is never happier than whenever she is with you. She never smiles as bright whenever she sees you going up to the driveway, and it just made my heart come out of my chest, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is changing lives. So as well as mentoring, Miss Susan and I, we began developing a sustainable mentoring and training program for REACH. We met with local organizations, professionals, to form partnerships and I actually got to learn how to run a nonprofit. So that was awesome. And I won't go into too much detail about these things as I did with the others, but I truly loved every minute of this. And this internship has meant so much to me, not only as a future educator, but for the calling in my life. I truly believe that this is my calling to love, to protect, and to educate children and youth. As an educator, I'll be doing all these things and more. As a teacher, it's essential that I build relationships with my students and teach them skills. I did that in REACH, and I hope to do so as a future educator as well. And this has solidified my decision to continue working in rural, underserved communities. I believe that everything that I've learned and currently learning in my methods courses, I can bring back to good old Johnston County. So when I walked into this internship, I was absolutely overwhelmed. I was like, oh my goodness, there's needs right here, there's needs right there, there's needs right there. And it was relentless. Just the amount of needs in front of us, and I felt so underqualified, but I realized something, that I didn't need to be the smartest or most strategic. What I needed to do was be willing to put in the work and to show up. I learned that being warm, those warm, kind smiles and welcoming our kids, and just being so gutsy in my ambitions, and just going straight on towards the goal that it could change lives. It absolutely did change lives. And I hope to continue this work for the rest of my life. But thank you, guys.
Thank you, Erica. It is neat. And the one foster girl that her grandfather came in the other day to my school, and he said, Susan, he goes, thank you so much. I hope you guys do the camp again. And again, some of these kids have never had that opportunity. One of the little girls, she's in middle school this year. She lives in a foster home since she's been 18 months old, I believe. and it has cardboard on her doors. I mean, just a poor, and no skills, just no skills. So, my goal in everything I do with the Reach Ministry is to present the love of Jesus to these people. Would I have loved to see all 4 girls say, I want Jesus in my life at the end of the summer? We didn't see that. But what we did see is that I feel like, some people are called to sow seeds, some are sent to water. Sometimes we just move rocks around in their heart. But I feel like we've been able to expose these 4 girls in specifically to the love of Jesus this summer. And I'm so thankful for Erica. I'm 57. She's 21. These girls are 10 years old. They loved her. They could connect with her. I mean, I was the conduit to connect them, but God really used Erica in their life. And I could go on and on, but the 3 things that I just want to leave you with. 1, the need is great in our world, more now than ever before. There's hopelessness in this world with the chaos in the world. But God is still the God of hope. No matter what, he's still sitting strong, sitting on his throne. And I know that Jesus deeply cares about this ministry and the orphans that are so lost. And we can give them hope of Jesus. We can be the hands and feet of Jesus so they'll come to know his love. And the 3rd thing I know is that I have a very strong passion for this. God's put it in me, and I kind of wish sometimes I could just sit by and just enjoy my life. But the truth is, these kids need us. And so thank you for doing what you do. That's just one of our